I'm John Sadler, President of Sadler Sports Insurance, and the presentation today is for the AYF AYC Leadership Conference. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but hopefully this video will get the job done. Like Joe Galat says, AYF and AYC are all about protecting the kids and protecting the administrators and volunteers against lawsuits. I think that message will be clear after the presentation today. We've recently customized a new risk management template just for AYF and AYC. It's available online, and I'll show you how to access it in just a minute. It's 26 pages long, and it's a Word doc template so that you can easily adopt it as your own. All you have to do is to insert the name of your organization, the name of your risk management officer, and make a few decisions about which option you want to select on a few issues. Then you formally adopt it and distribute it to your administrators and staff for study and education and implementation. I would like to stress that this is not what we call a safety program. It's a risk management awareness program. If you call it a safety program, the plaintiff's attorney who is suing you can more easily use it against you, because if you don't implement your own written safety standard, and if somebody is injured as a result, that can be an obvious case of negligence. On the other hand, if you call it a risk management program, its purpose is to reduce the organization's risk of liability, and failure to implement, despite your best intentions, is not as damaging. I'm proudly holding up a hard copy of the new program. Risk management doesn't have to be complicated. With our written program, you simply educate or raise the awareness of your administrators and staff on how to recognize a risk and how to respond to that risk, and the practice of risk management automatically occurs. Almost like osmosis, if you remember that from your science class in school. Notice the University of South Carolina Fighting Gamecock above my shoulder. Suddenly, for the first time in my life, it's cool to be a Gamecock. But I guess I'd better not let PETA find out about this picture in my office, or they'll probably demand that it be taken down. The basic elements of any risk management program are to avoid high-risk activities, prevent injuries, lower the severity of injuries, comply with legislative and case law, comply with the rules of your sanctioning body, to contractually transfer the risk of loss to another party whenever feasible, and to pay for losses that can't be prevented by buying the best and most comprehensive insurance that's available. Our customized AYF-AYC risk management program is true to these principles. I don't have enough time in the presentation today to cover the risk management program in its entirety, so I'm just going to cover some selected sections that I thought would be the most relevant for what's going on right now. The details are included in the actual risk management program. The first step is that every football and cheer organization should appoint a risk management officer to be responsible for implementing and overseeing the written program. It's an important job, and I think that this position deserves the full attention of a single person who is empowered to make all day-to-day decisions on all issues related to hazards. You might want to think about appointing someone to this position who works in HR, safety, or handles insurance for his or her employer. I'm going to deal with insurance before we get to the other aspects of risk management. Your AYF Terms of Service Agreement and Operations Manual reference the insurance requirements for the regular season and the regional and national championships. You're responsible for policing yourself for the regular season compliance, but AYF will review your insurance coverages for compliance prior to being allowed to play in regional or national championships. You're not required to buy from the endorsed AYF-AYC insurance program through Sadler Sports Insurance, but if you do buy from us, you automatically meet all the requirements for the regular season and the regional and national championships, and you don't have to complete the insurance checklist. We've customized an insurance checklist for AYF that must be completed and signed off on as part of the regional and national championships. The checklist includes the limits and coverages that are required for each policy, along with the exclusions that are not acceptable to AYF. This slide includes the types of policies and indicates whether they're mandatory or strongly recommended. I'll just flat out tell you that no other competitor can match the special coverages that are offered by the endorsed AYF insurance program or the prices that we offer them for. Despite everyone's best efforts to make tackle football and cheer as safe as possible, serious injuries can occur due to the nature of these sports. Serious injuries result in large lawsuits against our administrators and staff, which can result in financial ruin and bankruptcy. There's been a lot of talk in the media recently about concussions and brain injury in youth from the accumulation of subconcussive impacts and the possibility of resulting class action lawsuits against youth football organizations and their boards and coaches. I don't personally think that this will come to fruition, as has been explained in my many blogs on this topic, but it's possible, and I think you want to have a general liability policy with a high enough general aggregate limit to deal with this possibility. Most of our competitors don't have high enough aggregate limits to deal with this. I think that a $5 million general aggregate limit is preferable. So, our program has high limits for the accident and general liability policies. As an attorney, I've customized a number of unique enhancements and eliminated a number of dangerous exclusions from our policy forms. It's funny how the competition usually lags a few years behind us, and when they finally make the improvement to their program, they act like it was their idea all along. We have the only program in the country where you can go to our website and get a quote, pay, and print off your proof of coverage documents and certificates for field owners in real time. We also have the only program where you can self-issue new certificates for the new field owners on a 24/7 basis. We have the best and most user-friendly risk management resources in the industry that I personally developed. And when you buy from the endorsed program, you automatically participate in a study of all injuries that are reported under the accident program. We ask about 15 different variables for every injury, and the data is crunched and provides meaningful safety information. We use this system to determine that age-only divisions are no more risky than combined age-weight divisions. We have a blog that outlines the details of this study, as well as another blog of my debate script of talking points when I debated this topic in front of an audience of several hundred participants. A number of competitors have attacked us in the past by inaccurately claiming that they offer much lower prices for insurance. When we investigated these claims, they were always without merit. First of all, what do they even mean by insurance? Are their coverages even close to ours? Do they offer liability only, but not accident insurance? Are their limits on accident only $25,000? Does their general liability policy exclude sex abuse and molestation? Do they have dangerous exclusions such as player versus player, volunteer versus volunteer, or the cheer stunt exclusion? What we've always found out is that their coverages will not match up. Last season, a major competitor advertised that their per-team cost for tackle football insurance was only $85 a team. Well, they conveniently forgot to mention that this price did not include the cost of accident insurance. They later corrected this after several months of the misleading advertisement. You also have to watch out for competitors that try to get you on the hook with a lowball price indication based on a suppressed number of teams or players. You then jump through a bunch of hoops by providing detailed information over a period of days to finally get a formal quote, and the price is much higher than what was originally indicated. Remember, if an offer is too good to be true, it is always too good to be true. If there were a better deal, I can guarantee you that we would already be tapping into it. I just want to briefly take you on a tour of our website to show you where all the resources can be found. Let's start out at sadlersports.com and click on the link to American Youth Football. And when we get here, you can scroll down the page and notice we have published the per team rates for accident and general liability insurance by age group and by division. And you can scroll down further and see that we have the rates published for directors and officers liability, crime, and equipment insurance. If you scroll back up, you can see, you click on this link here to see a detailed coverage description for each one of the policies. And if you want to get a quote and purchase, you would come click on this link here, and you can fill out just several screens, and you can get a quote. And if you want to purchase, you can pay online, and you can immediately print off your proof of coverage documents and certificates of insurance for your field owners, all of that in real time. And the whole process from start to finish could be as little as 5 minutes. Now let's go take a look at our risk management resources. On the left hand side here is the unrestricted access section, and scroll down and just notice a few reports of interest would be one on 15 passenger vans, an excellent article on our waiver release forms worth the paper they're written on, excellent article on lightning safety and the 30-30 rule. Also down here we have an outstanding article on the types of criminal background checks. And on the right hand side we have the password protected section, which you need to type in the password risk in order to view the free content. And when you get here, you'll find out that we have all of our educational videos on risk management and sex abuse molestation for your administrators and your staff. And if you come down here, you'll see our risk management documents. The document that I'm talking about in the presentation today is found right here, the sample AYF AYC advanced plan. If you just click on that, you can print off the hard copy that we've been talking about. Also, would like to share our blog with you. Our blog is an excellent research tool. You can go down here by category and you can research, for example, abuse molestation. You can research concussions. Just about any topic you want to research, we already have it categorized. Or you can go up here and you can use the searchable field, for example, and you can research weight categories. And it will pull an entire list of the weight category issue if you want to do further research on that. When running a sports organization, it's very important to contractually transfer the risk of liability to the other party whenever feasible. Our risk management program covers in detail each one of the contracts or special situations on this page. Contracts are a very important part of your protection, and they help to protect or shield your insurance carrier, which helps to maintain low rates for everyone in the program. In addition to the contracts and situations listed on this page, there are two other very important AYF specific forms, which are the medical clearance form and the doctor's resume participation form. There are three critical aspects to preventing abuse molestation. The first is to run criminal background checks on all staff with access to youth, whether they're paid or volunteer. The vendor selection is very important. The AYF recommended vendor is LexisNexis. We have a free report on the types of criminal background checks under our risk management section that you should review before selecting a vendor. You'll see that the price goes up with the number of services that are provided. The less expensive vendors are only doing a national database check, whereas the more expensive vendors are sending researchers to county courthouses and are verifying social security numbers and assisting with the interpretation of the results and the Fair Credit Reporting Act compliance. You need to decide what level of services are right for you. And you don't just start running background checks and shooting from the hip, or else you'll get your pantsuit off for violation of somebody's privacy rights, for treating somebody differently than others, or violating someone's rights under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. You need to know how you're going to handle certain situations and have them documented in writing before you get started. For example, you need to select the conduct official who is the single person to review all background checks and who is responsible for maintaining the privacy of results. If you allow the results to leak out, you could get sued for slander or invasion of privacy. You need to be careful about the application form with the permission to run the background check. The laws on what questions you can ask on this form varies by state, and the law is always changing. You should probably use the application form that is recommended by your background check vendor. You'll also need to set your disqualification criteria in writing before you run your first background check. In addition, you'll need to know how you're going to handle notification under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, as well as how to comply with other state laws. Our risk management program explains how to address all of these issues. Running criminal background checks are required by case law as a minimum level of due diligence, but studies indicate that only about 5% of sexual predators even have a criminal background that could be detected. Therefore, if you just rely on criminal background checks, you're doing nothing to protect your kids against the other 95%. That's where the education and policies and procedures come into play to create a hostile environment to predators. Two of the most important policies and procedures are to use a buddy system where a single adult is never alone with a single unrelated child. Also, a prohibition of overnight sleepovers whenever possible is of vital importance. Once again, the risk management document deals with these issues. You need to have a written response plan in the event of a suspected incident, including a requirement to notify law enforcement. That's one of the things that went wrong with Sandusky. They failed to notify law enforcement, which can result in big-time liability. The next two slides outline some of the more hazardous activities that should be avoided or mitigated by extra risk management controls if you refuse to avoid them. Group transportation should be avoided. If you choose not to avoid it, you need to get into running acceptable MVRs on all drivers, and you need to compare them with your predetermined disqualification criteria. You should never use 15-passenger vans due to the tip-over propensity. Schools and most churches no longer use them. We have an excellent article under the risk management section that covers 15-passenger vans in detail. Their use is excluded under our general liability policy. 12-passenger vans are just about as bad, but their use is not excluded under our coverage. It's best to use minivans. Overnight sleepovers can lead to abuse, molestation, allegations, and incidents, and should be avoided. Swimming events are a big source of drownings and near drownings and big-dollar lawsuits. I would stay away from swimming activities as I've had too many clients that posted adults on lifeguard duty but who failed to detect a kid slipping to the bottom of a pool until it was too late or almost too late. Lack of supervision is the #1 allegation in youth sports lawsuits. One aspect of supervision is case law that deals with the selection of the size, age, and skill levels of participants. In youth tackle football, age group selections are the primary indicator of safety. As a general rule, you never want to have a division where kids are more than 2 years apart in age, and you should never play a team or scrimmage a team that falls outside this 2-year age range as compared to your team. Concussions account for about 4.5% of all injuries in AYF that are reported to our Accident Insurance Claims Administrator. The big areas in concussion risk management for which sports organizations must have policies and procedures in place are how to identify the signs and symptoms, the need to immediately remove a concussed or possibly concussed player from play, the requirement to seek medical care, and a return to play policy which includes a sign-off from a physician. Honestly, a lot of physicians have not been up to date on these issues, especially as regards recognition of concussion signs and symptoms. I've personally witnessed this, and I'm sure you have also, but now they're getting a much better education themselves. Coach, parent, and player education is now on the forefront. Many state laws are now requiring this education in a specific format. Education for the coaches is usually in the form of an approved online course, and player and parent education is in the form of reviewing an approved handout. AYF and AYC provide online coach certification that covers concussion instruction. AYF is also working with a vendor to provide a special training program called Tackle Safe that is scheduled to be released in the summer of 2013. In addition, the CDC offers its heads-up training video and fact sheet handouts. A lot is still up in the air as regards the science of concussions in youth tackle football, and we have to be careful to distinguish between meaningful scientific conclusions versus media hype. This issue will continue to evolve over the next several years. One final issue I wanted to cover is the prevalence of embezzlement and theft by volunteers, which can often exceed tens of thousands of dollars. Youth sports organizations are ripe for this kind of criminal activity because most are not run as a true business with adequate financial controls. Here's a list of safeguards that should be followed. And of course, we strongly recommend that you purchase a crime insurance policy with a limit of $25,000, which only costs $175 per governing board. We also have several excellent blog articles that are devoted to this topic. Thanks for your attention today. We very much appreciate your business and support. If you have any questions or need service, please access our website or give us a call on the toll-free number. Thank you.